Because somebody's trying to report her as missing.
And yeah, it's her brother. He called me yesterday too.
Okay.
And I'm worried too. That's what I said. What do you want me to do? Do you want me to help you? I don't know. I left here and on Friday, and she said, come in the morning and get the key. And then she said, I really don't want to go because you guys, I've been there for 3 days. I'm tired. I go to work on Monday. She wanted me out. I've accepted it. I'm leaving the house.
Did she legally evict you, or did she just tell you to leave?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But she gave me extra time because if you knew how much stuff I had, I mean, I had 23 years of my life. I have 3 kids.
I've been here before.
Yeah.
Reference
Drake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where's Drake?
He's at a hotel.
Okay. How's that going for you?
The knock at the door. A 19-year-old answers, and within seconds, his entire world changes. Your grandmother. We found her. She's dead. But here's the chilling part. When detectives told Drake Bickett that his grandmother had been murdered, his reaction didn't match the moment, and that was the first red flag. Welcome to chilling true crime, where the quietest homes often hide the darkest secrets. What started as a simple welfare check in Albuquerque would unravel into one of the most disturbing family betrayals the city had ever seen. It began on a quiet afternoon. Marilyn Gandert, 65 years old, a postal worker, a woman who adored her dogs and spoke to her brother every single day. And then suddenly, silence. Her brother, Harry, knew something was wrong. Her car was in the driveway. Her phone went straight to voicemail. A note he left on her door remained untouched. Marilyn was not the type to disappear. When officers arrived at her home, nothing looked forced. No broken windows, no signs of struggle. But inside, something felt off. Her bed was neatly made. Her medication sat untouched. Her keys were left behind. Her dogs were barking non-stop. And Marilyn was nowhere. That's when detectives learned something critical. Marilyn owned a second property, a rental home, and living there, her daughter-in-law Alyssa, her troubled grandson Drake, and a roommate named Annie. Even more concerning, Marilyn had just evicted them days before she vanished. Police were familiar with that address. Domestic calls, mental health incidents, violence. Still, at that point, no one imagined murder. When officers visited the rental home, Alyssa seemed cooperative. Too cooperative. She claimed Marilyn had texted her telling her to pick up the key, but Marilyn's best friend Nancy immediately said something that shifted the entire case. That is not Marilyn. Someone is texting from her phone. That single sentence changed everything, because now this wasn't a missing person case, it was something else. And 2 days later, nearly 30 miles away, a burned body would be found on the side of a remote road, and the nightmare would truly begin. The call came in just after sunrise. A passerby driving along a quiet stretch of road outside Albuquerque noticed something strange in the dirt. At first, it looked like trash. Then they saw the shape. It was a body. Burned, abandoned, left in the open desert as if someone believed fire would erase everything. But fire doesn't erase truth, it reveals it. Investigators quickly confirmed what the family had feared. The remains belonged to 65-year-old Marilyn Gandert. She hadn't run away, she hadn't disappeared, she had been murdered, and whoever did this had tried to destroy the evidence. Welcome back to Chilling True Crime. Now the case was no longer about a missing grandmother. It was a homicide. Detectives began retracing Marilyn's final known movements. They pulled phone records, text messages, surveillance footage, anything that could build a timeline. And that's when the inconsistencies started piling up. Marilyn's phone showed activity after she was already presumed dead. Texts sent, messages opened, locations pinging in places she never went. Someone had her phone, and that someone was trying to buy time. Investigators zeroed in on the rental house, the one Marilyn owned. Inside lived her daughter-in-law Alyssa, her grandson Drake, and their roommate Annie. 3 people who had been evicted. 3 people who had every reason to be angry. When police brought Drake in for questioning, he seemed nervous but cooperative. He spoke softly, avoided eye contact, repeated himself. When detectives informed him that his grandmother had been found dead, he didn't cry. He didn't ask how. He didn't even seem shocked. Instead, he asked a strange question. Was she burned? The room went quiet. Detectives hadn't mentioned fire. They hadn't shared that detail with anyone outside law enforcement. So how did Drake know? That moment shifted the entire investigation.
Okay, we think someone killed her.
When?
And I'm really sorry.
Okay. How does that make you feel? That makes me feel sad. So she's murdered? Or like, she's just dead?
No, someone murdered
Like, why?
her. Well, that's what we want to know.
Because I had just gotten over depression over my dad dying.
Yeah, and I can tell you that Mom's story isn't matching up
No.
with your story or Nikki's story. And with...
Totally wrong.
Because now they weren't looking at strangers, they were looking at family. Phone records showed Marilyn's device had pinged near the rental house the night she vanished. Surveillance cameras from nearby gas stations captured a familiar vehicle driving late into the desert. The same vehicle registered to Alyssa.
Yes, yeah, for now. I know. And then the holes are from Drake, you know, when he gets stupid. And I'm like, boy. And that one, I can help you open this door.
This one?
Yeah, well, because this, I had it a little close, so I was trying to.
You're getting there.
I'm getting there. Like, I'm really getting there. I'm trying to get it all organized. My room is the most of the kitchen.
Just from Drake?
Yeah. He just bangs his head in. I'm just like, whatever, I'm gonna fix it. This too. Like, this is how it was the last time too, and I'm like, but I can't just put him on the street, you know?
And neighbors recalled something else, screaming, on the night Marilyn disappeared. Not long after, smoke was seen rising behind the property. A small fire, nothing unusual, or so they thought. But the evidence was stacking up, and detectives knew it was only a matter of time before someone broke. What they didn't expect was how quickly that break would come. Because when Annie sat down in that interrogation room, everything unraveled, and she didn't hold back. When Annie sat down across from detectives, she looked exhausted, not angry, not defiant, just tired. At first, she stuck to the same story everyone else had told. Marilyn had come by, there was tension, nothing serious happened, she left. But detectives didn't push right away. They let silence do the work. And silence is powerful. Because when someone is holding on to a secret, silence gets heavy. Minutes passed, then Annie's voice changed. She came over that night, and they started arguing. Now the truth was beginning to surface. Welcome back to Chilling True Crime. According to Annie, Marilyn had gone to the rental house to confront them. The eviction had created tension for days. There were threats of being kicked out, pressure, anger building. That night, the argument exploded. Voices were raised, doors slammed, accusations flew. Annie claimed Marilyn told them they needed to leave immediately, that she was done helping, done supporting them. And that's when Drake lost control. Annie described the moment like it happened in seconds.
Okay, unfortunately, like I said,
You're not gonna let me get it?
I can't.
No, that is not right.
Well,
I have every, no.
so
no.
listen, can you talk to me first, and then
Yes,
maybe we can.
but
All right.
that's not fair.
Okay. Would you be more comfortable to do this in my car, where it's warm? You good?
I mean, my jacket, I could get it. I'm not.
Okay. How many people live here with you?
It was me.
Drake grabbed something heavy, Marilyn fell. The room went silent, but she wasn't dead, not yet. What happened next is what turned an argument into murder. Instead of calling for help, instead of panic or regret, there was a decision. They couldn't let her leave. They couldn't let her report what had happened. So they restrained her. Annie admitted they tied her up. They kept her inside the house, and hours passed. At some point during the night, Marilyn stopped breathing. Whether from injuries, suffocation, or neglect, investigators would later piece that together. But in that moment, the reality was clear. She was gone. But the nightmare didn't end there. Instead of calling police, instead of confessing, they moved into the next phase, covering it up. Annie described Drake pacing, Alyssa crying, everyone talking over each other. And then someone suggested fire. They loaded Marilyn's body into a vehicle, drove nearly 30 miles into a remote area, and tried to burn away the evidence. Annie's confession was detailed, too detailed to be a lie. She even described where certain items were discarded, details only someone present would know.
Go down to this first corner, take a right, take to the first road, take a left, and it's right there. It's. What do you think it is? They burn it. I mean, it looks like a body to me. I don't know, man. It looks like it has arms. It looks like it has hands, and they're all curled up. And I don't know, man.
It's not real, it's creepy.
I think it looks like it has lips and teeth in there. Okay, yeah. Okay. I don't know if it's real or.
Detectives listened carefully, because while Annie was talking, they were building the case, and one question still remained. Was Drake acting alone in the violence, or had this been planned? There was only one way to find out. They brought Drake back into the interrogation room, and this time, he couldn't hide behind silence. When Drake walked back into the interrogation room, he looked smaller. The confidence he tried to hold on to earlier was gone. Detectives didn't yell. They didn't threaten. They simply laid the evidence out, piece by piece. The phone records, the surveillance footage, any statement, the detail about the fire. And then, they waited. At first, Drake denied everything. He said Annie was lying. He said his grandmother had left the house alive. He said they were being blamed because of the eviction. But detectives leaned in on one simple fact. You asked if she was burned. Silence. You weren't told that detail. Drake's breathing changed, and that's when the story shifted. Welcome back to Chilling True Crime. Drake admitted Marilyn had come to the house that night. He admitted there was an argument. He admitted he was angry. But he tried to minimize what happened next. He claimed he only pushed her, that she fell, that it was an accident. But accidents don't explain restraints. They don't explain hours of inaction. They don't explain a body driven 30 miles into the desert. As detectives pressed further, cracks began forming. Drake eventually confessed that after the fight escalated, they made a choice, not out of panic, but fear of consequences. They were about to lose their home. Money was tight. Tension had been building for weeks. And when Marilyn stood firm about the eviction, something snapped. Instead of seeing a grandmother, he saw an obstacle. Drake admitted they restrained her. He admitted they didn't call for help. He admitted to helping move her body. But when it came to the final moments, how exactly Marilyn died, he hesitated. His answers grew vague. I don't remember. It happened fast. I didn't mean for it to go that far.
Arrested.
Okay.
Okay, so I have enough probable cause to believe that you were involved in the homicide of your grandma.
How so? Oh yeah, you're the detective.
I am the detective. You remember me now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, at my house, like I'm gonna tell you the honesty.
Okay.
My grandmother said, I'm too old. Will you please kill me? Multiple times, drunk and sober.
Okay.
That is honestly.
So back in
So I was just like respect, like, because I can understand. I don't know if you guys can understand, but I expect you guys to be able to understand. If an old woman is like old and having to work for her children, right? Then I'll do what she wants. You know?
But detectives knew. This wasn't a momentary loss of control. This was a chain of decisions. Every step after that first blow was a choice. And the most chilling part? Drake never asked about her suffering. He never asked how she was found. He never asked about her dogs. The interrogation ended with a quiet statement. I messed up. But those pretty words felt hollow, because this wasn't a mistake. It was betrayal. And now, with confessions from both Annie and Drake, investigators had what they needed. Arrests followed. Charges were filed. But for Marilyn's family, none of it brought peace. Because the question they were left with wasn't just, why? It was, how could someone you raised become the person who ends your life? When the arrests were announced, the community was stunned. A grandmother, murdered by the very people she had tried to help. The headline spread quickly across Albuquerque. But behind every headline was a family trying to understand something that would never make sense. Welcome back to Chilling True Crime. In court, prosecutors laid out the timeline in painful detail. The argument, the restraint, the hours where Marilyn was still alive and no one called for help. The drive into the desert, the fire. Each step wasn't just an action, it was a decision. Drake Bickett faced charges that could put him behind bars for decades. Annie, who had confessed, also faced serious charges for her role in what happened. Alyssa's involvement was examined as investigators worked through every statement and piece of evidence. The courtroom was quiet when Marilyn's family spoke. Her brothers described her as dependable, loving, routine-driven, the kind of person who never missed a phone call. Her friend Nancy said something that stayed with many people in that room. She would have forgiven them. And that might be the most haunting part of all, because Marilyn wasn't cutting them off out of cruelty. She was setting boundaries, trying to protect herself. But to them, it felt like abandonment. In the end, justice moved forward the way it always does, through paperwork, hearings, and sentencing. But justice doesn't rewind time. It doesn't undo fear, it doesn't erase suffering, and it doesn't bring someone back. Marilyn's dogs were rehomed. Her house was eventually sold. Life, somehow, continued. But the story lingers, because this case wasn't about strangers. It was about proximity. It was about anger left unchecked, dependence turned into resentment, and how quickly frustration can turn into something permanent. The most chilling crimes aren't always committed in dark alleys. Sometimes they happen at the kitchen table, behind a door you've walked through 1,000 times. And sometimes the person you fear the least becomes the one you never saw coming. If you found this case as unsettling as we did, make sure you're subscribed to Chilling True Crime. We uncover the stories that remind us one truth: evil doesn't always look evil. Sometimes it looks like family. And we'll see you in the next case.